11:30 class. Let's see, we do have some folks who want to join us. Okay, welcome. We are now live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, and we're live in the Zoom meeting. So we have tons of technology going on. Hopefully it's working. If you could, Alejandro, can you tell me if you can hear me? I see you're muted. Can you hear me? You can chat in if you want, or you can speak up. Can you hear me? Apparently they can't hear me, or they can't respond. Can you hear me on Zoom? Okay. Hey, David, welcome. Welcome, David. Can you hear me? Speak up. Can you hear me? Anybody? I don't think they can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Cool. All right. I'm going to assume you can hear me can you hear me on Zoom? I don't see any response. Let me type it. Can you hear me? I should spell hear right. Question mark. Yes, you can hear me. Thank you, David, for the chat. Okay, good. We're good. Technology's working. So let's get started. Oh, no, we can't start yet because we have to give everybody 5 minutes to be here, right? If I start now, the people who aren't here on Zoom, I'll have to start over. That was the deal we made, correct? So I told you the story about the plumber. I told you that story because I just wanted to. But I also was thinking that today I'd have a good excuse to not be here. So if I sent you guys a message and said, I can't be there today because I have plumbing issues, would you be upset about that? No? Would anybody be upset? Oh, come on. Nobody? You would miss me. We have donuts, by the way. Thank you so much. I did not bring the donuts. Andrea brought the donuts. Thank you, Andrea. So anyway, yeah, I was thinking that I might play hooky today and just say, watch the earlier Zoom meeting, which didn't really go that great. I mean, it went okay, but it didn't go great because I'm learning how to do these keynote slides. And anyway, before I get into the lesson, since we have we have 2 minutes before I stop admitting people. Let me just go over the assignment real quick for this week. Here's a big announcement. This week's assignment requires that you already have your Bayrock planning portal registered. So you've all done that, right? Has anybody not done that? Say that again? So Mint is great, but that's not the same. You're going to have to register for the Bayrock portal. You don't have to link your cards, but you have to have that set up. You did that, right?
I did set the card.
Yeah. So here's what's going to happen next. This week's assignment, which will be posted later today, this week's assignment will require that you have access in that planning portal to more data cards. Right now, I have not gone in and adjusted or edited your financial planning portal. I'm going to do that today before I post the assignment. So if you have not already registered when me and my team go in and update your planning portal, then you will not get updated because you haven't registered. So if you try to do this week's assignment and you're not registered, when I go in and update your portal, then you missed this week's assignment and you will get a 0. So that's the announcement today. If you happen to be one of those students who's wondering why you can't do the assignment and you're watching this on Thursday, chime in with GroupMe, and the students who are paying attention and are here will tell you why you can't do the assignment. Does that make sense? I know that's a little fast forward time machine kind of stuff, but the point is, make sure you've registered with your Bayrock portal so that it's there, so that me and my team can go in and update it, because this week's assignment, it's really a simple assignment. You're going to, in a nutshell, you're going to do a little research and figure out how much money will you make when you start working in the job, if you get the job that you want in your major after you retire. How much money are you going to make? You need to know that. And then based on that income, you're going to do a little more research and you're going to buy a house. So you're going to pretend that you're buying a house. So you're going to have to shop for a house, find a house in a neighborhood that you can afford based on how much you're going to make once you graduate. So you're going to have to do a little research to figure out how much house can you afford and what kind of mortgage are you going to get? What's the interest rate? Is it a 30-year, a 15-year? And that's all going to be pumped into your financial plan, which is why you need access to that data card so that you can tell your financial plan what you're buying as far as a house goes. So that's your homework assignment, is to buy a house, number one. Number two, you're going to think about your dream car. And you're going to do a little research and figure out how much would it cost to buy that Tesla or Beamer or whatever it is you want to be driving. How much will that cost? What kind of interest rate are you going to get on it? What's the loan amount? How long are you going to take to pay it off? And you're going to add that to your financial plan. That's number two. So a house, a car, and number three, you're going to go spend some money using a credit card. You're going to spend at least $10,000 on anything you want. You don't even have to tell me, but you're going to have to tell me, you're going to have to tell your financial plan. You're going to have to complete that data card for your credit card and say, what is your interest rate on this credit? What's your balance? At least $10,000. And that way, once you have those three things built into your financial plan, next week, we're going to do probably one of my favorite assignments in the course. I call it Credit Crush. And that's where I'm going to teach you debt management strategies and how to pay off debt in the fastest, most effective, and most efficient way possible. So that's next week's assignment, but it requires you to do this week's assignment to prepare for next week's assignment. So this week, what I want to talk about is consumer awareness. I want to teach you some things that I think will be helpful for you to understand as a consumer about how it works when we talk about credit cards, and pretty much any purchase that you make these days, because that didn't work out so great. Sorry, my technology is being finicky, but we're going to go through an example. I'm going to tell you a story about a guy named Billy and Sally, and you're going to get to see how it worked for Billy and Sally. But it's basically, you're going to learn how the credit card scam works, and I'm going to teach you how to avoid that trap. Yes?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is there any way that you could
Lower the screen. That's a great idea. I wonder why I didn't think of that before. I wonder why nobody asked me to do that before. Look at that. I don't even have to hold the button. Okay, I wonder why you're seeing. Okay, let me do this. Let me go. I'm going to try to give you a better look on the screen. Hopefully this works. Okay. Is that better? Let me see if I can get rid of this. I'm sorry about that. So hopefully you guys can still see the same thing. Get rid of. Sorry, technology. I'm going to get rid of all these little. Okay, is that working? That's better. So the main idea here right now is, have you guys ever heard the term caveat emptor? It's a Latin term. It means buyer beware. And today I'm going to teach you about it. It's an idea. It's a legal term. And it's It's basically a warning that when you buy something, you need to know that you don't know everything about that product. Yes.
When's the deadline to have your Bayrock account connected and all that?
When the question is,
Update everything.
yeah, good question. So when is the deadline for you to have your Bayrock account registered? And the answer is last week. Yeah, so if you've already missed it, you better do it right away. Like, I'm not going to be posting the assignment until probably 3 o'clock today. So you have a little window there if you haven't done it. But if you haven't done it by 3 o'clock, and I might even get to it at 2 o'clock, because see, the thing is, I'm going to have to go in and update on my end all of your financial planning portal, all of your financial plans. I have to go in and update it and give you access to more information. And I'm going to do that today as soon as I get to it. But like I think I told you the story about the plumber. What's the priority for me? Yeah, taking a shower, yeah. I don't have water at my house right now. So anyway, good question. So just if you haven't done it, do it. You know, you might want to do it now and then watch the Zoom meeting. Just do it. Do it as soon as possible because you will get a 0 on this week's assignment if you haven't done it. So if you need to do it now while you're in class, feel free. I bet you've already done it though. Trust but verify. Okay, good. So this lesson is really about being an aware consumer, an informed consumer. Specifically, we're going to talk about credit cards. Buyer beware. It's just a disclaimer. It's used as a legal term. Basically, the idea is that you don't have as much information about the product as the person who's selling you the product has. And so that's what caveat emptor, buyer beware, or consumer awareness is. Daniel, where were you last week?
I got sick.
You got sick?
My kid didn't get out.
Oh,
Face mask.
yeah.
Right now, but,
Did you have COVID?
something like that.
Something like that. Well, I'm glad you're back. We missed you. All right, so this is your warning, and it's basically in your credit card application. Again, we're going to talk about credit cards today. I'm going to tell you a story about a guy named Billy and how he got into his credit and how it worked, how it works for you, how it works for me, how it works for anybody that uses credit. And I'm going to tell you Sally and Billy's story. Hey, welcome. So Billy and Sally, their story is really just to set the table for what I want to teach you today about credit cards. So I met Billy at Firestone. When I started teaching this course, you remember Sam's story and how he helped me understand if I could teach you just one thing, then I would be achieving a good goal. Remember what that one thing was? What was that one thing Sam, my friend from Ireland, said? If you can just teach them one thing, there's one thing about personal finance that everyone needs to know. What was the one thing?
Is that the one that was you met State Farm and
No, that was JD. That was the guy that helped me understand the simplest, most effective retirement plan. JD, that was a different story. No, this was the 3 laws of personal finance. What's the first law of personal finance? The law of spending and saving. Spend less than you earn so you can save more for what matters most. Sam helped me understand that if there was one thing I could teach you, it would be that. Spend less than you earn. And so he said remember, he was from Ireland, and he believed that Americans were not very smart based on the evidence that we spend a lot more than we make typically in our culture because we live in a culture of consumerism. So that was that one lesson that I've got to teach you. And so you don't remember that story. Anyway, when I first started teaching this course, I was still trying to figure out what I was going to teach you. And I met this guy, Billy, at a Firestone station. And Billy was a very interesting young man. We kind of hit it off because he was driving a Ford F-150, and I love Ford F-150s. Best vehicle ever made, the most popular vehicle ever sold in the world is a Ford F-150, and Billy was driving a Ford F-150. He showed up at Firestone the same time I did. It was January. I was about to start teaching this course, and I got to know Billy, and Billy had a coupon to purchase tires for his Ford F-150, which he bought from his uncle, and he got a really good deal on this pickup truck, but it needed tires, so he was there at Firestone to buy tires for his F-150. How much do you think it cost to buy tires for a Ford F-150?
$2,000.
How much?
$2,000.
$2,000. That's a pretty nice set of. Daniel?
Yeah.
1,000? That's good. Anyone else? So this was back in 2012 when I started teaching this course. So at that time, Billy had a coupon from Firestone to buy 4 tires for just under $600. Now, that didn't include all the extra things that come with tires, like excise tax, disposal, new valve stems, and lifetime balance, all that. But $600, that's a great deal, and he was there to buy these tires, and that's when Sally showed up. Billy is there. I'm there to get some work done on my Lexus. I used to be a master mechanic, but there were some things I did not want to do to my own car. One of them was transmission work, and they had a mechanic at Firestone who could do what I needed done. And that's where I met Billy. He was there to get tires for his pickup truck, and Sally was the person who was there to provide she was the service advisor. Do you guys know what a service advisor is? No?
Yes.
Yes? What?
Like the ones who were working there.
Yeah, she worked there for sure.
They give you the price.
They give you the price. What else?
The estimated cost, what you need. They talk to the tax and stuff.
Yeah, service advisor is like the person that coordinates the work that's going to be done on your vehicle. They interface with you. They communicate to you what it is, how much it's going to cost. They're kind of like the salesperson that you work with to get your car fixed. So that was Sally's job. And when Sally stepped onto the scene at Firestone, I recognized instantly that she was a highly trained professional, and she plays a very interesting role in the story today. So Billy meets Sally. This is Sally's trainer. She was the manager of the Firestone, I think. But anyway, Billy meets Sally at Firestone, and this is how the story kind of starts. So Billy comes in for tires. I'm there to get some other work done. I hit it off with Billy. We become friends. Billy, by the way, is a young man who was working at home. I asked him about college. Where'd you go to school? He went to San Jac for 2 years. He was working at Marathon. He had a plant job. Anybody know anything about jobs in a plant like Marathon? So he had a job working in the plant, which was another reason that we hit it off, because at that time I had a little business in Marathon. It was a vending machine business. Anybody know anything about vending machines? It's a fully cash business. I had 19 machines, soda and snack machines, and they were just little cash cows. I bought this business from someone who didn't want to do it anymore, and it was a really cool little business. Was it worth it? Yeah, it made money. I mean, it made $300 or $400 a week in cash. Problem was, how much work is $300 or $400 a week worth doing? I bought this for my son, thinking he would have a great little business that he could grow. Turns out it was a lot of work, and it was 100. If it was 100 degrees outside, it'd be 115 degrees in the plant. It wasn't really comfortable work. You had to go in the plant, you had to take some training, get certified. You had to wear all these, what do you call them, hazmat suit with them, Anyway, it was a plant. But anyway, Billy worked there, but he lived at home, so he's making good money. He bought this pickup truck at a really good price, but it needed tires. But it was cool. So I got to know Billy, and then we meet Sally, and Sally says to Billy, Billy, that's a good-looking truck. And she starts to do her thing. Sally starts to do her thing as a salesperson. If you're a salesperson, what is your thing?
Really nice.
Be nice, yeah. And
I like offering the price and then the discount that you're giving.
so the price, the discount, what else do you think? Upsell. What does that look like if you're Billy and you have an F-150 pickup and you come in with a coupon to buy the tires that are on sale? What does the upsell look like if you're Sally trying to sell Billy?
Maybe like a warranty or something.
It'll look better.
For the car. I don't know.
So warranty, what kind of upgrade?
Like it will look better if these new tires instead of the discount.
Instead of the discount tires, these tires over here would look better on your truck, Billy. And that's a cool truck. That is a really cool. And you guys saw Sally's picture, right? Billy noticed that Sally was somewhat attractive, and I noticed it too. But at any rate, Sally was connecting with Billy, and she was helping Billy understand that these cheap tires, they're great, they're fine. But what you really ought to think about is this upgrade, these tires over here. And so Billy started to really pay attention to Sally, who was very good at her job. And so what do you think was next?
You got the tires and her number
The tires
and her number.
and he definitely got her number. You're going to see the rest of the story. Yes. But say that again.
We got the expensive tires.
He got the more expensive tires, and what do you think would come with the more expensive tires?
Something expensive.
Warranty, definitely the warranty was part of it. But what comes with tires? Rims. So some nice rims as well. And then in addition to that, Sally suggested a little modification to the pickup truck, a lift kit that would raise it up so that those new wheels would really pop. The new wheels, the new tires, the whole look. And she had his attention, and I'm just watching. Like, this was a really cool young man who was living at home, saving his money, making good money, being really frugal. I'm thinking, dude, you should be in my course. Like, that's awesome. And then Sally shows up and everything changes. So now Billy's like, okay, that's interesting. And so what Sally does next involves kind of the core ingredient for today's lesson and for this week's homework. It's the credit card offer. It's the credit card, the credit product. Anyway, Sally gets Billy's attention, and she helps him understand that we can get these tires, we can upgrade to these rims, you can get that lift kit, and we have an offer for you that is going to make it super easy for you to do this. And Billy came in prepared to buy the tires with cash that he'd saved, but he didn't have enough cash to buy everything that Sally had just helped him see, like, who he could be when he drove out of there. So the credit card offer is the thing I want you guys really to understand how it works into today's story, how it works into so many people's lives, and it's a big part of the story. So after Billy meets Sally, you already picked up on the fact that he gets her number and they become a thing. And that makes a big difference as we move forward into the story. So fast forward, Billy and Sally are not only dating, but instead of Billy living at home, what do you think Sally expected Billy to do to improve their relationship? Marry, that came later, but first move out. You can't live with mom and dad if you want all the benefits of me. So they move in together, they get an apartment, they start spending money, but that's later down the road. Okay, so we have to deal with right now what's going on with Billy and his truck and how that whole thing unfolds. But yeah, Billy meets Sally. Afterwards, this relationship takes a whole new level of experience, if you will, and it affects both of their finances. And there you see the discovery. Do you know what that discovery is? No. Yes, that was a pregnancy test. I wondered if you'd get that. So that's what happens way down the road. They become a family and it's all good. Here's what Dave Ramsey says about this word, buyer beware. And Dave has been a big part of this course since the beginning, so I thought I'd give him some due. Now, Dave was into real estate. This whole idea of buyer beware, it applies to all products, but Dave applies it to real estate. So those are his words there. But buyer beware is an important part of being a consumer, and you need to understand that as a consumer, you have to be aware of what's going on, especially with respect to credit. And just know that it's your job to understand how it works. Nobody else is going to take responsibility for making sure you understand how it works. And when we get to the end of today's lesson, I think a lot of times people are thinking, is that even legal? Like, shouldn't the government prevent this from happening? Kind of, you'll see where that goes. But the government is not going to protect you from credit, okay? The target is on you. We talked about that last week, I think. Who's the biggest target for credit, for scams, for college kids? College kids and old people. So you guys have a target on you. So just be thinking about that as we talk about what we're going to talk about today with credit. I want to help you get smart so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made. And you got to know, when it comes to marketing, and credit is a product that gets marketed all the time. Millions of dollars are spent every day. And here's how they take advantage of you. They take advantage of you and me and all consumers, because basically most of us are lazy when it comes to, we just want what we want. And we don't know how much it's going to cost. But mostly, just like Sally did, they take advantage of your hopes and your dreams and your fears and your greed. And you can see it in all kinds of marketing, right? If you just click on headlines and think about what are they appealing to in terms of how they're marketing to you. If you just kind of make a list, that's what I did. I just made a list of how they market to you. Like, I had breakfast at McDonald's today. Their tagline forever was, "You deserve a break today," right? Like, I deserve a break. I shouldn't have, so I don't have water at my house this morning. My wife offered to make breakfast. I'm like, no, we don't have water to clean the dishes, so I'll just go to McDonald's because I deserve a break. My wife deserves a break today, right? That's what I mean. It's like all advertising comes with a message, and the message is based on a few basic things. And so that's what I just made a list. Think about it. As you have these impulses to buy, understand that you're being influenced. You live in a culture of consumerism, and you're being influenced all the time, every day. It's the water we swim in, okay? So you just need to understand that. Another way that you get sold, in addition to marketing, which is one thing, marketing is like this nonstop messaging machine, but then it comes down to personal selling, which is what Sally was doing. She was selling. She was a trained professional. She was like a machine, and you just need to know that people who are trained to sell are really good at it. So there's online marketing designed basically to influence you. Do you guys know what YOLO is? You only live once, so that's why I spend so much money at Apple, because I only live once, and I'm going to enjoy it. And Amazon, too. So what about FOMO? Yeah, that's when something's on sale, you instantly have FOMO. You better get involved. Like I'm pretty sure that Facebook is on sale right now, so I should probably go make this trade. Give me just a second. Oh, it's coming back. Yeah, it was down too. Anyway, that's fear of missing out. We do it all the time. We being salespeople. I've been in sales all my life. And fear of missing out is one of the ways people sell. Personal selling is unique, in my opinion. It's very effective. But it's basically what happened with Sally and Billy. Sally influenced Billy to make this sale. She used all of the tools and techniques that she was trained to use as a professional, and she made this one-on-one maneuver with Billy that, as I watched, it was like, this is how consumerism works. It was the perfect storm, and it worked really well. So the bottom line is companies spend a ton of money to train professional salespeople, and if the salespeople, they're taught how to do everything. So you knew I was a State Farm agent. Do you know how much money State Farm spent on me to equip me to be an effective sales professional for State Farm? Well over $100,000. So my training with State Farm involved 6 months of internship where they paid my salary, all of my expenses, all of my benefits. They gave me a car, they gave me a really nice condo, and I went to training for 6 months, full time, every day. And then they gave me an agency and they paid all my bills for 1 year. It's a huge investment they made. And even after that much investment, the group that I was in, there were about 13 of us. At the end of that year, we had certain production, we had to produce to keep the job. Like every month they measured how much did you sell, and you had to sell every month. By the end of that year, you met their requirements or you didn't. And out of 13 people, only 4 of us met their requirements. So imagine 13 people, that's $1.3 million. They spent the same amount on every one of us. And out of 13, 4 of us made it. But the 4 of us that made it, we were rewarded very nicely. And the reason is because companies wanted people who could sell. I worked at Morgan Stanley, and I was in their 3-year training program. I don't know how much they spent to train me, but it was a lot. And out of all the people that I was in the training group with, very few of us were successful. I was one of very few at the Morgan Stanley training. It was a 3-year training program. And the majority of the people in that training program failed. So selling is something that people get paid very nicely for, and the people that end up being successful are very good at what they do. And you can make a lot of money in sales, and I think it's a wonderful career choice. But I also know there are a lot of people out there selling you stuff that you don't need. And even though they're good at selling you, and maybe they're selling you something you really want, and it's not evil, it is what it is. And I just want you to be aware of it, that when you get in front of a salesperson, you don't know what they're doing to get you to say yes. They have been trained and they're very good at it. So just be aware of that. And if they are not successful, I'm telling you, they don't keep their job. And so the ones that are successful are good at it. So this is the unbelievable offer that basically Sally made to Billy. She gave him an unbelievable offer, and it included the offer of easy credit. And we're going to take a look at that. So here's what an unbelievable offer looks like in the context of credit. So I'm curious, in my earlier class, I asked the question, do you know what 90 days same as cash means? I got to admit a student here. No? Anyone? 90 days same as cash. Nobody knows what that means. Anyone on Zoom? Don't forget to chat yourself in if you're on Zoom. Thank you. So nobody knows what 90 days same as cash is. Yes, Daniel, thank you. Correct. It's pretty simple. If you pay it in 90 days, there's no interest on it. So that's one of the things that they use to get you to say yes, to make the easy credit easy. 90 days, same as cash. So what does that mean? I mean, we know what it means. 90 days, you don't pay any interest if you pay it in 90 days, but it means...
Like, I'm guessing, makes you think that you can pay it in 90 days.
Exactly.
You the credit, later on you realize you're not going to make it, but you're already in the credit.
Exactly. So back to the story of Billy. Billy's offer, let's see if we get Billy's offer here. These are the way credit card companies do it. That's what this slide is. Their motive is very simply, and you're going to see this, they want you to become their customer for life. But the way they use the 90 days same as cash is, here's another slide we should talk about in a minute. The credit is a product, not a privilege, and it's, the sale that they're making you is priced into the cost of credit. I want to get to the slide with Billy. I guess it's down the road. So you said that the way they use it is they make you think you've got this time where you have this free credit, but then most people, 70% of the time, they forget, they just don't pay it off within that time limit. And they end up spending more money than they planned for because they really didn't plan, right? They bought something because it was easy to buy.
Like the free trials?
Yeah, exactly. We call that in sales, usually we call that like the puppy dog trial. Here's this beautiful puppy. You're at a pet store, so we know you love animals, right? And you're looking at the dogs. So we give you this puppy and you take it home and it's free. You don't pay anything. You just take it home, and if you like the puppy, you keep it. Who's going to bring a puppy back and say, I don't love the puppy? I mean, they already know you love puppies, otherwise you're not in a... It's a game, but it works. It's a very effective game. So this just talks about when you miss a payment, and one of the things that we're going to talk about is after the 90 days, what happens after the 90 days. So at the end of this, so Billy's offer was not 90 days. Sally's offer to Billy was not 90 days. It was 6 months. So here's some more information. So what we're going to do over the next few minutes is I'm going to show you, kind of help you understand the lifetime cost of a loan. And I'm going to show you how your balance, your credit card balance, will increase when you pay the minimum. It will increase. And that's kind of the key in the credit card trap. The credit trap is how your balances increase when you pay the minimum. So Billy's story is a story about a boy in his truck. He's a man, but I'm old, so I can call him a boy. He's a young guy, and he has a truck, and his truck turns into a sale with Sally, and the sale turns into a date, and the date turns into a family, and the family gets buried in debt. So let's go watch this story. So this is Billy's story at Firestone. He comes in with a coupon to buy tires, $575. Again, that's only the tires. Total walkout would have been a little more with balancing, tire disposal, new stems, and all the things that anybody that sells tires will sell you, because you have to have it. So Sally comes to Billy with some marvelous upgrades that are going to make him look good, and the total full meal deal on that is going to be $3,500. So we'll talk about what's included in that deal and how Sally got to that level of cost, and we'll talk about the minimum payments. So here's what Sally sells Billy. We already knew he went from the cheap coupon value tires to the more expensive, better looking tires, right? And he went with the new rims and the lift kit. And do you guys know what an alignment is? So if you buy new tires, you really want to get it aligned. And so, she was right on. She was super professional, and she was, as a person who was a master mechanic, that's how I paid for college. I've worked in the business, like Firestone, in retail automotive for many years. So I watched Sally with the critical eye, and she was very good at what she did. And she sold Billy in a very good way what he needed. And so she said, you needed an alignment. He said, yeah, I guess I do, to protect my investment. Because if you buy new tires and the alignment is out, it's going to wear out the tires. It is. And so she was right about that, and he was right to buy this lifetime alignment for these tires on his truck. But the problem was, once the mechanic inspected the truck, they found some bad parts in the suspension. Now, it was a Ford pickup, which is an awesome vehicle, a Ford pickup. The suspension on a Ford is better than any truck on the road, but nonetheless, it had some bad parts and it had to be replaced. And so by the time she got the full estimate for the new tires, the new rims, the lift kit, the alignment, the parts that needed to be replaced to make the alignment hold. Because if you align the vehicle with loose parts, the wheels are still going to flop around and they're going to wear out. So all of that came to $3,500, including the new valve stems, the lifetime balance, the warranty, the whole 9 yards. And the point was, here's what Sally was really selling to Billy. Think about this. What was Sally really selling to Billy?
You have a really nice truck. You need that really nice tires.
Because it's going to change who you are. She made him feel really good about himself. Like, you've got this great truck, but it could be better. Tires are important, but you could transform the look of this vehicle, meaning you could transform you with this purchase. That's what she was selling. And she was going to make it easy. She's going to make it fast. She's going to make it painless and affordable. And that's all part of what she was trained to do as a professional. And she did it remarkably well. So that's what Sally was selling Billy. So the deal was, the credit card offer from Firestone included no money down. Billy came in with plenty of money to buy the tires on sale with the coupon. He didn't come in with enough money to buy everything else, but she turned it into, you don't even have to keep the money in your pocket, no money down. No payment for 6 months. So Daniel, this is 6 months, same as cash. Instead of 90 days, they were offering 6 months, made it super easy. And at the end of the day, if you decide to pay it on credit, it's going to be a very low monthly payment. And in fact, it was going to be a minimum payment of $25 on a $3,500 deal. So low interest rate and instant approval. Super good deal, right? A remarkable offer. And the credit card is what made it so remarkable. So he goes with it. This is in January. He says yes. He wants what she's selling. He buys it. He signs the credit card application. He walks out of the store with his new transformed truck and his new transformed life, and with Sally's phone number, and with a whole new future ahead. He what?
And also impressing her.
He so impressed her. Plus, now she's getting a nice big paycheck because she gets paid commission, and maybe she took him out on the first date. It never worked that way for me. So that's the deal. Billy's payments was no money down, but after 6 months it was going to be $25. So now let's fast forward the clock. 6 months later, because he had 6 months same as cash. Okay, this is where it starts to get interesting. So just like you said, Andrea, he didn't pay it off. He was in that 70% of people that he got busy, right? In fact, we know from the rest of the story that he got really uniquely busy with Sally. He moved out of the house. He got an apartment. They started buying furniture and other things that made their life workable, right? And he kind of forgot. He didn't have any payments. He even had the money in the checking account because he didn't spend it on the tires that he saved for. My guy Billy has really taken a turn for the worse. I mean, I was really proud of this guy. But he's now in a situation 6 months later where what's going to happen? So remember, the interest rate was 14%, right? You guys know how to calculate the interest on $3,500? If you took out your calculator, you calculated 14%, it would come up to $490, but it's 6 months, right? So do you think Billy should have to pay interest on the 6 months since it was 6 months, same as cash? What do you think, Daniel?
No.
No, of course not. But do you think he will have to, even though he shouldn't have to? Because he didn't pay it off. Because remember, 90 days, same as cash. 6 months, same as cash. It's same as cash for 6 months. But what happens at 6 months and 1 day? You have the interest. For when does the interest start? When you got the product. Whatever, for him it was the work, the service, the tires, the rims, all of it, the whole package, $3,500. January, he had 6 months, he didn't pay it off, so now 6 months later, the interest for that 6 months, it's not for the whole year, which would be $490. The interest for half of that is $245. So now you take the balance, right? What was the balance? $3,500, and you add the 6 months interest, and that brings you to $3,745. And then what do you do? Because now we're talking about July. It's not just 6 months, but it's 6 months plus 1 month, which means you have to add the interest for that month. So now we're at the July payment, and the July payment includes interest for July. And the interest for 1 month, how do you think we got to that interest? We took $3,745, which is the balance, and we multiplied that by how much? 0.14, 14%. And then what did we do? Divided that by 12. So just know that my calculations are super simple. If you try this at home on your credit card or your car payment or whatever, it'll be very different because of something called compounding. I'm using super simple interest, super simple math, and the way they do it is they compound it either daily or weekly or quarterly. Depending on how they compound is going to change the calculation. But I just want you to see basically how this thing works. So this is how it works. Billy's paying 14%, so the balance for each month is multiplied by the 14%, and then it's divided by 12 because it's a 1 month payment, which gets added then to the balance. So you take the new balance, you add the interest, and then you make your first payment. So there's the new balance before the payment is $3788.69, and remember the minimum payment, the low monthly payment, was $25. Does that seem like a lot or a little? Did I tell you guys about my credit card? I just told this story, and it seems like I told you, but I think I told the earlier class. Things run together when you get to be my age. So I didn't tell you about my Wells Fargo card and my Southwest card. So I have 2 credit cards in my phone, and the credit card one of them is Wells Fargo, and it pays me 2% cash back. So I have a $25,000 credit limit on my credit card. They gave me $25,000 credit limit, and not too long ago I hit the maximum. And when I hit the maximum, I had 25 grand on my credit card. Now, I always pay it off at the end of the month, and I paid that one off at the end of the month. However, when I got the bill, it still showed me what the minimum payment was on that $25,000. Do you know how much my minimum is on that $25,000? Take a guess. How much? $40? Really close. $35. So just to put it in perspective, you say the $25 minimum on Billy's $3,500 seems low, but I have a $25,000 and my minimum is only $35. So is Billy's low, or is it pretty reasonably not low? It's pretty reasonable. It is reasonable, trust me. Nonetheless, watch how this works, because this is where When my wife showed me this, back when I was buried in debt, because I was buying everything on credit, was 6 months same as cash, didn't have a payment, so it was really easy then to buy the next thing. With 6 months no payment, I'd buy the next thing. By the end of the 6 months, we're getting all these bills, and my wife is like, "Are you stupid?" And I got to tell you, I felt pretty stupid when she showed me this. My wife showed me this when I was being really stupid with money. It was way back when I was a young man. So I'm showing you, but it works the same today. So here we go. That's the first payment. Billy makes his $25 payment. So then after the July payment, there's a new balance. You take the balance, you pay $25, it's a new balance. It's $25 less. And then what happens? August comes around. Now it's time for another payment. In August, we have a new balance. That's the balance from before, after we paid the $25, plus we have to put the new monthly interest. So you take the balance, you multiply it by 14%, you divide it by 12, and you come up with $43.90. You add that, now you have a new balance before you make your payment. The new balance, by the way, $38.07. How much was his original balance? $3,500. He makes his $25 payment, and then we get to the next month. We won't do this for very long. I just want you to see how it works. It's a very simple process. It's just how it works. And when you look at the lifetime value of this of this loan, you start to see why credit is a product and why their goal is to make you a customer for life. So after the August payment, you have a new balance. You paid your $25, you got a new balance. It's $37.82.59. You take that new balance, you add your monthly interest, and now you have a new balance before you make a payment. So in September, Billy's new balance is $38.26. How much is his minimum payment? $25. So let's see what happens next. It's time to make the September payment, except Billy and Sally are having so much fun. I don't know what they were doing in September, but he got distracted and he didn't make the payment. So what do you think happens next if he doesn't make the payment? Interest rate goes up to 28%. Do you think he gets an email, notification, phone call, an alert on his phone? No, they gladly let this the fine print was already there. He already signed off on it. It said if you miss a payment, you'll go from 14 to 24. And it did. And he didn't notice it. He didn't see it, but it did. So now he's got this new balance of $38.26.72. New balance, right? And now it's time for the October payment. So you take the balance, really it's from August and then September. He didn't make a payment in September, so he's got interest from the missed payment of $76.53. That's from the missed payment, from the missed month with the new interest rate. So now the balance goes up to $39.03. But now it's time to calculate this current month's interest rate. Again, at the 24%, his new interest rate gets applied to his new balance so that now he, he has this month's interest, which is how much? Let's see, $78.06. That's on the $39.025, and I don't know why that went so fast. Apparently, I have a problem in my slide deck. After the October payment, he has a new balance before the payment of $39.81.31. His payment minimum doesn't change. Because why? Because
Less than the interest helps the company out.
yeah, it's part of the game. They want that minimum to stay low. Again, I have $25,000 credit limit and a $35 minimum. How long would I be in debt? How much money would I pay them for interest if I used their formula for success for them? Now, Billy and Sally are feeling pretty okay about this because think about it. Here we are it's October. This is after the October payment, before November. He bought this service and these products in January, right? So now, how much money has he totally laid out for his tires, his rims, his lift kit, his alignment, the repairs to his suspension, the lifetime warranties? How much has he spent out of his pocket? It's crazy, isn't it? So if you're Billy, you're like, I'm pretty smart, right? I mean, think about it. Cash flow, this is a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't you do everything like this, right? I mean, that's what easy credit is all about. And think about it if you're a business, or think about it if you're a family and now you have all these things that you've always wanted and your cash flow is so manageable. I mean, he's only spent $100 and he's got this amazing new transformation in his ride. Does it seem like he's winning the game to you? What do you think? Come on, what do you think? You think he's going down a scary path, falling in a trap? I mean, think about it. That's $39.56 on a $3,500 balance that's eventually going to have to get paid. Eventually, it's going to have to get paid. And the minimum payment is never going to pay it off. He will always be in debt. So what do you think the solution is for most people? If you're like Billy, and you don't just have this, you and Billy and Sally don't just have the truck with the tires and the Firestone credit. They've got the furniture. She's got a new car with a car payment. They've got the, I said furniture, the TV, the big screen TV with a credit card from Conn's Electric, and some stuff from Best Buy, like they bought a new MacBook just like I did, used the credit card at Best Buy. So they've got all these credit cards and they're paying minimum on all of them. What do you think is happening to their net worth? It's decreasing super fast on an exponential basis. So what's the solution for that family at some point when it just starts to become overwhelming? He loses his job. Maybe she loses her job. Now what do? Go bankrupt. Yeah, that's the easy solution. It's probably not the best strategy, but it works. I'm not here to be a proponent for going bankrupt, but trust me, a lot of people do that because they get so buried in debt, they feel like there's no way out. And this is how you get buried in debt. It's so easy. They make it so easy. So this is just one example, but this is Billy's story, Sally's story, and hopefully it won't be your story. So Billy's balance is $39.81.31. His minimum payment's $25, and after 4 months, he's basically gone into debt more, from $3,500 to $39.56. But again, if you're Billy, you might be sitting there saying, it's not such a bad deal. I've only spent like $125. My cash flow is remarkable. I deserve it. I deserve all of it and more. And so that's just how it works. That's Billy's story. So this week, you get to do a little pretend. You're going to go out and create some debt for yourself so that next week I can show you some strategies for how smart people will pay off the debt. But first, I want you to go out and pretend you deserve it. You deserve that house, so buy the biggest house you think you can afford on the income that you're going to assume you're going to have when you retire. Does that make sense? So you're all there's this job that you would like to have, and it's going to pay so much, and you got to do a little research to know in your major what kind of money could you make if you get the job you really want. And based on that salary, then you're going to go buy a house. And I want you to figure out, you're going to have to do a little research to figure out what's the most house you can afford. And you might even say, what's the most house I can afford based on the most amount of money that a bank will lend me? It's not really stupid to do that. So let me explain that a little bit, because I want you to do this. I want you to go out, do a little research, and I want you to buy as much house as you can afford, as much house as you can possibly buy. Because here's why. One thing, I just want to show you how it works, but I want you to do the research to figure out how much house could you buy, because there's a limit. Like when you're making $100,000, the bank is only going to lend you so much, but you're young and that house is a better investment than a credit card. The mortgage interest is going to be lower. Interest rates are on their way up. When I was your age, I bought my first house at 11.5% interest. Today, you guys could probably find a loan for around 3%, maybe 4%, 3.5%. So you could buy 3 times as much house as I could buy just based on the discount you're getting in a low a low interest rate. And if interest rates are going up, it would be smarter to buy a lot of house today, because your income is going to go up and the value of that house is probably going to go up, and interest rates are definitely going to go up. So I'm saying it wouldn't be stupid for you to buy as much house as you could afford. But for the sake of your assignment, you don't get an option. I want you to do that. Even if that's like not something you would really do it this week for your assignment so that I can show you next week how that looks in your long-term financial plan. So those 3 things you're going to do this week in your assignment. You're going to first do a little research to figure out how much money are you going to make. That's not even, you should have already done that, because that's what your budget was based on. So you've already hopefully got that number. And then you're going to do a little research to figure out how much house could you possibly buy on that income, number 1. Number 2, you're going to figure out your dream car, like maybe it's the Tesla, the Beamer, whatever it is that you would love to own, and you're going to go buy that car. You're going to have to do a little research to figure out what kind of interest rate is your car loan going to have, how many years are you going to take to pay it off, and you're going to put that into your financial plan, number 2. That's the car. And number 3, you're going to go spend some money on a credit card, which means you're going to have to figure out what's the interest on that credit card, and you're going to spend at least $10,000 on that credit card, with that credit card, and you're going to have to figure out what are your payments, what's the interest rate. So you're doing a little research, you're doing a little pretending, you're building your financial plan on some assumptions that aren't really maybe true, but they're going to be close to reality, because once you graduate and once you get a job, I'm going to assume that you are going to buy a house, that you're going to realize at some point maybe buying a house is better than renting, maybe not. But for this assignment, you're going to buy a house and a car, and you're going to put some money on a credit card, so that next week we do the Credit Crush assignment, and I can teach you how debt management strategies work in your financial plan. And that won't work if you don't do what I'm asking you to do this week in your assignment. So first, make sure you've already registered for the Bayrock Planning Portal, and then this week's assignment is going to come out sometime around 3, 4, 5 o'clock today, as soon as I get to it after I take a shower. And then you'll be ready to do this week's assignment. This week's assignment is really easy, but you have to do it. This week's assignment will determine next week's, results. So Spend a little time doing that. And as we move forward in the semester, we're going to be building on your financial plan every week. So I will start to do some weekly assignment review videos because it's going to get a little bit more, it's going to start going at a faster pace. We've spent a lot of time talking about credit and debt and how that all works. We're going to spend the rest of the semester building your financial plan, showing you how things work in your real financial life, and it's going to go a little faster. We're going to get into investments and investment strategies. We're going to get into tax advantaged investing, but we're going to do all of that in the context of your financial plan. So again, it's going to move pretty quick, but I'm going to make it easy for you, I promise. This week's assignment is pretty easy, and it won't take you very long at all. So at that, I'm going to open for questions, and then we're going to get out of here. Yes?
For the 10,000 that we have to spend on a credit card, can be for traveling?
You can spend it on anything. I'm not even going to ask you to tell me what you spent it on, although you can tell me what you spent it on in your article if you'd like, but I don't care. The point is, I want you to, her question was, what do you need to spend on the credit with the credit card? And I don't care. The point is that you have some credit card debt and that you do a little research to understand what is a reasonable interest rate that you're going to pay on a credit card and what is your payment going to be and what does that look like. So that's where the assignment really comes into play. It's not about what you're spending it on. It's just I want you to have some credit card debt. I want you to have a car payment, and I want you to have a house payment. That means you're going to have to do a little research to figure out what is a mortgage? How much is a mortgage? How many years? What's the interest? And your financial plan has all the information you need. You just have to plug in the numbers, and that means you may have to do just a little bit of research, like how much will you pay on a mortgage loan today? Could you figure that out? What you could get a mortgage for today without actually applying for a mortgage? Yeah, that's not hard. You could call somebody. You could Google it. There's lots of ways you could figure out what is today, what is the interest rate you would pay, and if you find a house that you really like, that you think you can afford, you're going to be able to find out what is that house for sale for, because that's what you're going to do. You're going to actually find a house that's for sale, and you're going to pretend you're buying it. And that's easy to do. You can go online and say, I want to buy a house in this neighborhood, and it's going to cost this much. And now I'm going to go get a mortgage. So that's your assignment. Does that make sense? Any questions? I don't see any questions on Zoom. So I'm going to say thank you very much for being here. And if you don't have any questions, you are dismissed. Yes, sir.
Unrelated question, what's the average interest rate for a credit card?
What's the average interest rate for a credit card? You know, it's always going to depend on your credit score, your credit worthiness, your credit history. But I would say average for a credit card is probably 18%. You know, you're going to have a lot, some people are going to qualify for something a lot lower, but then, you know, averages are averages, so they can go up 25% pretty easy.
I think it ranges from 17 to 25, and if you're a student, it goes from 12 to 22, something around that.
So a range 12 to 22.
If you're a student and apply for a student credit card, that's like the range. And if you are applying for non-student credit card, it's between 17 to 24.
So assuming you're right, you're saying that the range of credit card interest for a student applying for credit is, you said,
From 12 to
17%.
Yeah.
And if you're a non-student applying for credit, it's going to be from 16 to 24% or something like that. So that makes sense. I mean, it's not low. The key to a credit card is pay it off every month. Yes.
follow-up question? If you had that 12%, would it make more sense to, if you were Billy, to use your credit card to pay off the $35,000 or $3,500 and then pay that lower interest
That's a great question. So the question was, if you had this debt at 14%, would it make more sense to pay off that loan or do what with the money?
Just use your credit card to use your credit card's interest rate on that 3,500 instead of that 14%. Or if it's lower, if it's not, you wouldn't do that.
Yes. So I think you're going to see the answer to that question next week when we do the credit crush assignment, because you're going to get to play with what if I do this to pay that loan off. And you're going to have 3 pieces of credit in your plan that will help you see how you choose which one you pay off. So, but paying off credit cards with credit cards is kind of risky, kind of difficult to do. You can't really do that. Like you can't use your Visa card to pay off your Kohl's card. You just can't do that. You can't use a credit card to pay off another credit card. You might be able to get an advance to do that, and that might not be a bad idea. But so the question would be, if you're billing, you've got $3,400 in the bank, would it be smarter to pay off that credit card or to pay the minimum and use that money to pay off a different credit card? That's what you're going to get to see how that works. If you were going to get aggressive to pay off your debt, what's the best strategy to do it? So you're going to learn that next week, not this week, but next week. Any other questions? Daniel, did you?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the donuts. Are you taking
Have $3 for those
free donuts on your way out? And I'm out of here. So I'm going to end this Zoom meeting. Y'all take care. Have a great week. And I'm going to end this stream